Queen ShanShan, and this is a broadcast podcast.
Rods. Hey girl, hey. Yes, it's your girl Queen ShanShan, and we are back live with a new episode, and it's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be another good one. It's gonna be a thinker tonight. It's not, what we did last week where, you could lay back in your chair, but we're gonna have you sit up in your chair tonight and listen to this episode. We had a great weekend last weekend. I just wanted to do a shout out to John and Peter for inviting us on their boat last weekend in Long Beach. We were able to just hang out and chill last weekend, and they introduced us to a band called the Yachtly Crew. Edward, have you ever heard of the Yachtly Crew?
I have never heard of the Yachtly Crew.
Do you know that yacht rock is big now?
It's always been big for me. I
really?
love yacht rock.
I guess I'm fairly new to it. Even though I love the music, I didn't know there was a theme or a name called yacht rock, but it does encompass like your Ambrosia, your Kenny Loggins, your Daryl Hall and John Oates, your Eagles,
Chicago or Peter
Chicago. Cetera. It was awesome.
Dan Fogelberg.
Yeah.
Fogelberg, that's it. Christopher Cross.
Of course, Christopher Cross. All that kind of music, 80s, 70s music. So anyway, they played live at this bar called Alex's Bar in Long Beach. This dive bar.
Ah, that sounds fantastic.
And the band dressed up in like sailor gear or yacht gear.
Okay.
They were phenomenal.
Wow, I want to go next time.
There was over 400 people in this room dancing till 1 o'clock in the morning. And the music was great. So next time they're in town, we have to go and see them live.
Count me in.
Yachtly Crew, are you listening? We would love you to be sponsoring the show.
Yachtly Crew.
If I ever get married, I would want them at my wedding, truly. That's how fun they are.
What would they sing, like shout at the water instead of shout at the devil?
There you go.
Shout at the water.
I don't know who sings that.
Motley Crue.
Hello, Yachtly Crew, Motley Crue. Yeah. They did that.
Yeah.
They did that, yeah. Oh, let's see. I don't know Motley Crue, so sorry.
Girl.
The only thing I know about Motley Crue is Dr. Feelgood.
That's it? Smoking in the boys' room?
Oh, and smoking in the boys' room or girls' room?
Boys' room.
Yeah, I know that one too.
So, my quick little story, sidebar real quick. So, I bought the tape, Shout at the Devil, when I was in the 8th grade.
Shout at the Devil?
Shout at the Devil.
Okay.
By Motley Crue.
Okay.
And it was back in the day when there were backwards masking on, the parents were like told, if you listen to this tape backwards, the devil's voice is on
that was them too?
So it was them. It was all like marketing. Uh-huh. So my mother found out that I had the tape and she made me burn it.
Okay. Yeah. That's kind of like she heard it when I was listening to Prince and Madonna. She didn't make me burn it, but she said I couldn't listen to them, but I still listened to them.
Anyway, I digress.
How was your weekend last weekend, Edward?
It was great. It was relaxing. Mm-hmm. Didn't do much. Mm-hmm. I don't think I did much.
It was great weather, wasn't it?
Moving. Yeah, I did some moving out of my storage unit into my house, so I'm just kind of like slowly shedding things.
Good for you. I really want to say thank you to Tyler, our last week's guest. The DMs, my voicemail, my voice what do you call it? Voice messaging.
Yeah.
Box has been full of people tapping into that episode. They really liked it. It was about BDSM. It was about sex. It was about fetish. It was about kink. And the numbers are literally still rolling in. And I'm getting really interesting reviews on it. A couple of ladies emailed me or texted me and said they felt different about themselves when they listened to it. It made them think of some things that they used to do. And they may be interested in doing things with their husbands or boyfriends.
Whoa, are we responsible for?
We're responsible for opening up minds.
Birth rate in May?
Opening up minds or opening up something else.
Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So Tyler, thank you so much. And again, Tyler Gates was from Tag Photography, his own photography company. Thank you so much. And the topic was, what is your safe word?
I'm not going to tell mine.
I'm not going to tell mine.
Okay.
Real quick, we'll introduce Mr. Rodney Jack in a moment, but do you have a safe word, Rodney?
I'm not going to tell you my safe word. Come on now, I can't do that.
Okay, well, everybody has a secret safe word, and it's, it's personal. Keep it to yourself. It's all good. But the feelings of the show, people are enjoying it, and we're going to continue giving you guys controversial, provocative subjects to talk about on this podcast. Speaking of sparking fire, not to put it lightly, but we are dealing with some very devastating fires in the Amazon right now, the Amazon forest in Brazil. And for a while, it was burning for about 3 weeks, and it wasn't garnering any media attention. And all of a sudden, in the last 2 days, it finally has garnered enough media attention to where the world is now watching these fires.
Right.
It's devastating because the Amazon forest is responsible for 20% of our oxygen on this planet. Mm-hmm. Now, that is a reality that we have to deal with. Now, if we don't have trees, we're not going to be able to breathe. We need trees to breathe. And the Brazilian president, of course, is passing the buck and blaming his haters. He says, I have haters. People who didn't like me are the ones who probably set the fires. Well, you know what, Mr. President of Brazil? You allowed farming, you allowed ranching, and you allowed mining in the Amazon forest. Now, if these people were unresponsible or irresponsible for their actions and someone lit a match, that's your fault too. What are your thoughts, Edward?
I think you're absolutely right. It's our responsibility, A, to take care of this planet that God gave us, but B, it's also, we're running out of time. Mm-hmm. So it's important that we try to save as much as we can.
You think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't want to get political or be, very, emotional about this topic, but it's important. God gave us only so much land. He ain't making any more.
Yeah. What are your thoughts,
we got to take care of it,
Rodney, about the fires that are happening in Brazil?
I agree. I think that the president is responsible. It's on his land, mm-hmm. right? And he sanctioned it. He allowed it to happen. He allowed people to farm and mine. Mm-hmm. So he's definitely responsible. And I definitely do think that we're in some kind of a tedious times, right? With the climate change going on and the glaciers melting.
It's raining plastic in Antarctica right now.
And
they found plastic particles in the rain.
Yeah.
In the Arctic.
It's scary is what it is. And the reality is that it's all man-created.
Yes, it is. We did this. Shame on us.
Yes.
So we deserve everything. We deserve it.
Yeah.
How are we going to stop it? I don't know. Is it too late to stop this? I mean, the president of Brazil, I don't know what his name is, but he's also claimed he doesn't have any money. Well, you know what? Then you need to talk to all those drug cartels peoples down there.
That's true.
Where's the drug cartel coming from? Mexico, and it's from South. I sound like Trump right there, didn't I?
Oh,
damn.
Just like Trump.
Ooh, I sounded ignorant right there, didn't I? Like our president. Ooh. Anyways,
well, we all have our moments.
There are drug cartels in South America, period. There are billions and millions of dollars in that country, so someone has the money, because what happened when Notre Dame got caught on fire literally 3 or 4 months ago? In 2 minutes, billionaires were donating money to rebuild that church. Where are the billionaires in South America?
Mm-hmm. It's akin to that whole thing. That it took that cathedral burning before they helped the southern churches that burned down.
That's interesting. Yeah, the southern, in the south. So this is our earth. This is our way. We have to have oxygen. So billionaires, are you listening? Can you bring some helicopters and planes down in South America and bring some water?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit?
Just a little bit. I'm not going to hurt you.
My goodness.
Yeah.
It's our breath. It's our children. It's our future.
Hello, the owner of Amazon. We know his name. I don't want to say it out loud. But drop some.
Yeah, because I bought the microphone.
Drop some water on the Amazon down there.
Definitely.
Come on. Help a forest out.
Well, we'll see how this goes. Maybe by Tuesday when this airs, the fires will be out.
Hopefully.
But it'll be 4 weeks then. So let's pray and hope. So, you know what? Time for a break, and let's get into Mr. Rodney Jack.
Queen ShanShan, did you get a new wig?
No.
Did you get a new shirt?
No.
Did you get a new necklace?
No.
Something is different with you.
Well, I just got my teeth whitened and brightened at Exquisite Dentistry here in Los Angeles.
Fabulous.
They do such great work, and I love them because they know that I'm a dental chicken. I'm afraid of needles, and they put me at calm and at ease the minute I arrived in their beautiful, gorgeous spa dental office.
They are simply superb.
Thank you so much. You know what? And Edward, dear Edward, you can get the same service too by calling him for an appointment at 323-484-7644. 845 or make an appointment online at exquisitedentistryla.com.
That's bloody brilliant.
And remember, tell them Queen ShanShan sent you. Hunty. And we're back. We're back with Mr. Rodney Jack. Hi, Rodney.
Hey, how you doing?
How are you?
I'm doing good. Good to see you again.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate that.
Love your smile.
I really, really do. We're excited.
You didn't hear what he said.
What'd you say?
I said I love your smile. Come on, give
You
him
love my
some
smile?
props.
Well, you know what? The smile is brought to you by Exquisite Dentistry. Our
Yeah.
sponsor.
That is great. That is really observant. Right,
That is actually
Rodney?
very appropriate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Exquisite Dentistry. You hear our new ad for tonight.
I might want to get that number.
Our new sponsor.
You'll
Yes,
have it.
thank you. You are a single. No, actually, you are in a relationship.
Yes.
You are a father of 3.
Yes.
3 girls.
Yes.
And I know you because you actually are a client of mine.
Yes.
And you work for the government. What do you do for the government?
I'm a human services aide, and I help social workers, essentially, is what I do.
Okay,
Family
mostly
in
for
crisis.
families and children.
Children, yes, families and children, definitely.
And how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing it for 11 years now.
11 years.
Yes.
And what made you decide to get into that type of job?
It's funny you say that, because in all reality, I just needed a job.
Okay.
I had the credits. I applied for it. But the truth of the matter is I've been doing social type work all my life. I volunteered football coach for 20 years. I have helped people my whole life. So helping people is what I do. And being a part of the social service community, that's what you do. You help people. It's about people.
Okay. And you have obviously a college degree. What was your college degree in?
Right now I have 2 AAs. I have one in philosophy and one in communication. And I'm in school right now to get my undergrad in human services. I also want to get an undergrad in sociology, and I'm hoping to get my master's in social work.
Oh my goodness. So basically you're like a career student.
Yeah, I think learning is really important, and I feel like education doesn't give you what you want, but it gives you opportunities to go get what you want. And so I feel like the knowledge, and with social work and sociology, it's so impactful, and there's so many different facets of it. It's just a beautiful thing.
You were raised by a single mother?
Yeah, single mother. I have a twin brother and 2 younger sisters.
You have a twin brother?
Yes.
What's your brother's name?
His name is Richard Jack III.
Okay, and is he in California or no?
He's in Vegas. He actually runs he did 20-something years in the Air Force.
Okay.
And he actually is running he founded his own mentorship program for youth.
It's interesting. So both of you are in the type of the family services,
Yes.
social services industry.
Yes.
Did your mother help bring that out in you when you were a child?
I actually think it was my dad's absence that brought it out, right?
Interesting.
Because I feel like a lot of us who do not have fathers, we long for that male bonding, and you get it from the streets, but there's nothing like having a male mentor in your house to really help you see how to handle being a man in the household, having a male presence, how to handle being a father. And so coming up, I feel like I missed that. Everything I've done so far in my life has been male-oriented. I went to the Marine Corps, which is a huge male presence. And then I went to the railroad as a locomotive engineer. That's another place where it's male-dominated.
Of course.
And to come to children's services, there's not as many men, and you see a different side of life.
You were in the Marine Corps for how long?
7 years. I did 7 years.
7 years. Why do you not want to make that a career choice for you?
In all reality, I had my firstborn, and so once I had her and we were going our separate ways, it was either go overseas or leave my child here with a mother without her father. And so for me, not having a dad, fatherhood represented so much to me that I just felt like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to do that to my child because it was done to me. So I'll bite my time. All my family's on the East Coast, except for my brother in Vegas. So I decided to get out here and raise my child, or
Good
help
for
raise
you.
my child.
And then you had two more children
Yes,
that are girls.
children. Yes.
So it's interesting that we already have something from the audience over here, Mr. Edward. Yes.
I just have a question about the Marines.
Sure.
I was in the Marines.
Hoorah.
1990, I was at MCRD in San Diego.
Hoorah.
Platoon 1022. You weren't there in that time.
1990, I was at Anglico in Long Beach, but so you'll know, from 86 to 89, actually 87 to 89, I worked at a weapons training battalion on Camp Pendleton, where they go and shoot the rifle at its range.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Just a little. Just was curious
Yeah.
if we were marching by each other or not.
Yeah.
Oh, because you guys are relatively the same age. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So I'm going to get into it.
Get into it.
Black
Let's go.
man raising 3 daughters in a relationship, but you wanted to make sure that you were present. Why can't more people follow your footsteps? More black men follow the footsteps that you led for your children?
Well,
What is
first-
the problem with black men staying with their children, even if they're not with the woman they had a child with?
I think it's a combination of a couple of things. My experience has taught me that it's not just about staying, it's also about communication and really being emasculated. And I don't think it's just an issue of African American men. I think it's a social issue, but I think it affects each culture differently. Like, I think emasculation, the breakdown of what the male represents in a family.
What does the word emasculation mean? Tell
It
the
means to
audience.
take away power, deprive the power from the male, right? So the male presence needs to be there. And I think having a male presence, because in the Marine Corps, you have a lot of male presence.
Yes.
I actually met a lot of Marines that helped me forge my personality and my character and helped build me up in the areas that I was broken by not having a dad. And even though I come from a family of strong men, I still needed more, right? Because it was like a village to raise a child.
Because you were raised by your mother.
Right. And so, and the other side of it is my mom and I had a conversation not too long ago, and she said that she wished that she had been more feminine towards me because she was too masculine. She was over to compensate for my dad. And so the sensitive side, the things that I needed from a woman, she didn't give it at that point in time. And I still think at this point in time in my life, I still crave it. And so for me having 3 girls, I had to learn how to be that open-minded, sensitive type person towards my children.
Interesting. So she overcompensated. Can we get into a little bit deeper? What did she do to overcompensate?
My mom was tough. I mean, she didn't pull no punches. You know, you have the strong black woman
She
mentality.
whipped the hell out of you?
Yeah, I mean, right now they call it child abuse. You know,
Yeah, they
it's
do.
funny, yeah, so
No one spanks their kids anymore,
Nah.
which is why they're all effed up.
and her words, right? You know, when we speak to people, we don't realize the impact that they have on us.
Mm-hmm.
Like a mother talking to a son is like, that's his goddess. And for her to talk negatively or berate him or demean him in some kind of way, it's kind of ripping his heart out. And so he doesn't recover from that because the first woman you're ever going to love has just told you that whatever it is you're doing, you're not good enough. And you may not ever be good enough. And
Because it's from a woman?
yes. And a lot of us carry that.
Now,
Right.
if you had a male presence and you unfortunately had a berating father, wouldn't that also give you a different type of way you were raised and how you responded to that upbringing?
I think it would, but I think your response to a mom is different than a dad, right? Mom is like the nurturer, the caregiver, the lover. She's the one that teaches you the sensitive side, where dad is more of the validator. Like, you're my son, and he's going to train me up to be the man that I'm supposed to be. But mom is supposed to coddle me and love me and give me that tenderness to be a better man. I feel like that's what was missing. That was my experience with mom. And so we do have some differences of opinion in that way.
Are you close to your mother now?
My mother's actually one of my best friends.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I had to forgive her for not having the tools. And I realized that not all of us come equipped with how to be that person that the other person needs, whether it be mom, dad, or significant other. And so it's a learning process. And so my process required me to step outside myself and learn to forgive in order so that we collectively can heal. And that's what's important to me, is really the growth.
I need to learn that from you.
Yeah.
Because I do have some, off the mic tonight, we were talking about my parents, and I have some regret, I do have some regrets, and I have some anger, and I have some, what's another word I'm looking for?
Hostility?
Hostility, I do, on how I was raised. Now, again, I wasn't abused or nothing like that, thank God. My brother and I were not abused. But I feel that there was different ways that my mom and dad could have raised both of us. My brother's gay.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom very much coddled to him. My brother, when he was born with the umbilical cord around his neck. So he came out not breathing out of the womb, and he was blue. So I think my mom had this onset guilt when my brother was born that, mothers, I'm not a mother, so I can't speak on the fear of when you're about to give birth or you're going to have a C-section, that ultimate fear of, oh my God, I hope I'm doing the right thing. I hope the baby's going to be fine. So my mom maybe had an innate fear, innate guilt of having my brother born that way, but he was fine, you know. My mom always tells us the story that when the doctor cut the umbilical cord and my brother came out not breathing, that he spanked my brother's butt really hard, and he had the big old wah, and we knew he was fine at that time. But maybe my mom had a thing about my brother, because I always knew that she was tougher on me and she was softer on my brother. And my dad, even though he was present in our lives, my dad is very passive. He's very soft-spoken. My dad gets mad or angry twice a year, if at that. He's very low-tempered, which is my brother, very low-tempered and very passive. But I wish my dad was more of a aggressor in terms of raising my brother. But maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. My grandparents, my grandmother who passed away a long time ago, my dad's mom was very passive, just spoke and whispered very lightly. And my dad's the same way. So I don't know if was he emasculated in some sort of way, or he didn't feel manly at the time, because my grandfather was the enforcer. And I remember him being very strict about me and my brother when we were kids. So I guess it's all about, you know, different perspectives and how you view your parents. What about you? You had something to say about this too, Edward. You were raised primarily by your mother.
Yeah, I was raised by my mom, but my parents divorced when I was 12. And so by that, I mean, my dad left at 12. We found out I had a half brother, and we found out that day, and then my dad was gone that night. So, you know, it was interesting because I was already skewed towards my mother anyway. So like I was my mom's child, not my dad's. I mean, I was both of their children, but I was a mama's boy. I was like, I could give a shit less about my dad.
Well, you were the favored one. Apparently, you were the favorite.
I was the favorite.
The spoiled brat out of the other
yeah,
kids, right?
Yeah, I'd say that. I mean, my brother and my sister, if they're listening, I'm sure of course they say that. Mm-hmm. But I was spoiled. I never had to talk. I never had to do anything, and so it was all my mom, and she was very demonstrative, if you will, you know, about raising me to be her child. Mm. And you know, I turned out gay. What does that say? I mean, I don't equate masculinity with sexuality. I just don't. But some would say I do. Do you, Rodney?
No, I do not. I think they're two different situations totally, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that the presence, I mean, we have to look at masculinity from a real truthful perspective, right? First of all, it's relative. People define it differently, right? And the other thing we have to talk about is how masculinity affects each male, right? Because like one of the things we always hear about women is like, I want a man who's sensitive and soft.
We want a man that's sensitive and soft
that I can talk to, right? And the next time when he opens up and shares how he feels, you call him weak, right? That's emasculation, right?
Preach, Rodney.
If you talk about being vulnerable and transparent, I can't share my pain with you, because if I share my pain with you, I'm going to look at you with jaundiced eyes and say that your pain is too much for me to bear, and it changes your image of you for me as a strong man, right? So all of a sudden now, because I'm open up and I'm sharing my emotions, and my pain is so difficult for the female, she now sees him as no longer being the strong man that she thought he was.
After she's been asking, I want a sensitive, caring man.
Right.
I'm going to be honest. Will I shake my fan out? Bam! The truth is coming out. I had a very interesting relationship with an individual for 6 years, and he was raised by his mom and dad, but his mom put him on this pedestal. He was Jewish Persian, and that community, you know, they raise their males as like they're, you know, nothing, they can do no wrong. And this particular individual that I was dating, he could do no wrong by his mother, you know, and so he was raised with that mentality that women are secondary, you know, and even the mother instilled that training into him that women are secondary because of their the way that they're raised, their ethics or their religion, whatever you call it. I don't want to put that particular religion in a corner, but I know that, you know, if you're Middle Eastern men, they feel that they are more superior than women. I mean, let's be honest. And it was me and him butted heads all the time because I felt I was superior.
As you would.
As I am.
Yes, you would.
But we would get into arguments and fights because he would talk down to me. And I'd be like, look, we are equals. If I have an opinion, I'm going to listen. You're going to listen to me. And you have an opinion, we're going to listen to you. I'm going to listen to you. What's ours is ours. Not what's yours is yours. And what's, whatever. Even though we weren't married, we were together 24 hours a day.
Right.
So it's like we shared things all together. But he did have a wimpy attitude in certain things. What I didn't like about him, and the biggest complaint was he couldn't keep a job. And that's what I felt. There's the wimp. And for me, a man, period, needs to have a job. You need to take care of yourself financially. And if you are dating somebody, or you are married, a relationship, whatever, take care of your girl, take care of your man, take care of whoever you're with as well. Now, I have my own job, I have my own money. I can buy my own meal and movies, whatever. It's not just that. But at that time, because he couldn't keep a damn job, I was paying for everything.
Well, I think a big part of that is that as a male, most men, from a masculine standpoint, are taught that their first rule is to be a provider and protector, right?
Correct.
And so
that goes back to the cave days, though, Rodney.
It does. It's how you socialize, right? But the protection and providing, too, culturally, is really relative. And some cultures, protective and providing may be deemed or looked at from a certain perspective as opposed to other cultures. We were raised in a household to where we didn't have an opportunity to really be boys. It was like, you are the men in the house. This is what the responsibility roles are. So
the childhood was taken away?
Well, it wasn't taken away. It was just that in our community, you knew that in order for us to survive, to get it done, you had to pitch in.
That's right.
There was no there was no free passes. There's no free meals. And so when you guys have someone who's been given opportunities that they don't have to, that changes their vision of what masculinity is.
And he didn't have to.
Right. And so, and I've seen it. Like, I've had moms I've coached children, boys, who I've watched their mothers cater to them.
You right now, you coach football, right?
No, I stopped coaching 3 years ago to go back to school.
Okay, so you were coaching them from ages 9 to 14.
Right. For 20 years, I've coached Pop Warner football.
Wow. Okay.
And I've watched boys. I've actually watched them. I've raised boys, so to speak. And the impact that their mother would say is different because I challenged them, but at the same point in time, I've seen moms hold their kids' equipment and baby them and nurture it. I mean, just baby them. And I'm like, you're not helping this young man. You're putting him in a position to weaken him as far as he feels like he's not entitled to. So when it comes to taking care of a woman, and with me, I have 3 daughters. So my biggest concern is, like, what kind of man is going to be there for my child, for my daughter? What is he going to do? How is he going to provide? Not that my child won't be able to provide for herself, but you do want someone that's your equal and that has the same values as you do, especially when it comes to being in a partnership or in a relationship, right? Be my equal. Work with me and not against me, because we have to be able to look at that from a perspective of what the future is going to hold.
Right.
And right now you have a lot of men incarcerated that do not know their dads. That's a huge problem for me.
Yeah, that's true. That's very, very true.
Yeah.
What do you think about the absent fathers of today?
I think a lot of dads want to be there. And working in the type of work I do, I've encountered dads who really want to be a part of their kids' lives. And I've seen moms berate the dads and so forth, so dad just gets up and walk away. Some people call him coward. Some people say, he's weak or he's soft. But I can honestly tell you, I never thought about walking away from my child, or I would walk away from my child. But in my relationship recently, there's times I thought, I could walk out this door and never look back. Because of the fact that I felt emasculated at times by your words, by your sarcasm, by the roll in your eyes. Sometimes we want simple conversations and we just need answers, right? A lot of times, like, my mom was very sarcastic, so it's a trigger for me. I'm like, Mom, I asked you a simple question and you talking crap. Like, it doesn't work. So why not treat me like the human being that I am? I'm not a woman. I am a man. I do not think like a woman. I do not act like a woman. I act like a man. So I'm not going to process the same way. So don't berate me or belittle me because of the way I process. I think that that's a big part of the problem. Like, as a father, I always talk to my children and say, hey, I'm not a female. I don't understand how you're feeling. So you have to help daddy understand. And with my older daughter, I'm like, you got to come to dad and tell me what you're feeling and what you're thinking, because I'm not inside your head. I do not know what it feels like to be a woman.
How old is your older daughter?
She's 28.
She's 28.
Yes.
So she's a full-grown woman, adult, living on her own.
Yes.
And what does she appreciate? Or have you guys had that conversation? Said, Dad, I really appreciate you taught me this, or I learned from this in college or school or whatever. Have you had those conversations with your daughter?
She calls me and thanks me for giving her a work ethic, for helping her be open-minded. And what I always tell is I can't tell you who to be. All I can do is help you become who you want to be. Mm-hmm. And I've never told her what she needed to be. I just tried to give her the opportunity to make the best decisions for herself.
Well, see, I remember one time my dad took me out to lunch. I think I was in my 16, 17 years. And I think that was the only time where he actually took me out to lunch without, we always were family.
Right.
It was always, my mom was always involved.
Right.
Mom was always there. But I think my dad took me out to lunch one day, and we just had to talk about school. We didn't talk about boys. We didn't talk about sex. We didn't talk about anything. He just wanted to, my dad's very shy. Okay. So for him to, my mom probably helped, encourage him, take your daughter out for lunch, take your daughter out. So I just remember that sitting in a restaurant, I think it was Chili's. And
did you have their chips and salsa?
Yeah, and the Blossom Awesome.
I like the guacamole person.
And I remember my dad kind of mulling over his hands and fingers. I think he was nervous actually having lunch with me, because my mom was always the one who would take over the conversation. And he just was asking me how I was doing in school. He wanted to get to know me. He just said, I want to get to know my daughter. And that was the only time me and my dad has ever talked like that. And, he's still with me. He's still with us. He's 79 years old. He has pre-dementia. And part of my resentment, that's what I was looking for, resentment, is that he...
I think you said resentment.
I did say
resentment. You said resentment too? I was looking for the good word earlier. But I have some resentment towards my dad because even though he was there physically, my dad's been there since the day I was born. He's been there physically for the last 47 years, and I do appreciate that. My dad has been there, a physical presence in my life. He just wasn't there emotionally for me.
But what would you rather have? Would you rather have both? Or if you had to choose, would you choose physically there or emotionally there? Because it sounds like, you're having difficulty connecting with them.
Oh, I've always had difficulty connecting with both my parents. My brother is different. My brother is very close to both my parents. I have a resentment and an issue with both of them. I have different issues with both of them. And my resentment is that I became the leader of the family for the last 15, 20 years. My dad has not become the leader.
I think that if I can make a point, that we have to be realistic, right? First of all, we have to talk about generations, right?
So he's born in the 40s.
Right. So the generational perspective or expectation at the time was different than it is now. Back then, those men did not know how to be men. They were not allowed to be men. They were castrated from a societal perspective. They were not allowed to speak up. They couldn't be leaders because anything out of bounds, they could be beaten, they could be hung. So as an African-American male, we were suppressed in that mindset, right? Fast forward, a lot of dads out there really want to be fathers, but they don't know how. There's an expectation about being a male. What a male, it's like being a Marine, right? You don't go to the Marine Corps expected to be a Marine. You go through a process, a training. There's ways that they teach you to become a Marine. It's the same thing with being a father. The same thing with being a man. We know that we have the gender, but we don't know how to be men. Like, we don't know what leadership is. We're not taught how to do it this way. So if you don't have that model, if you don't have that social model, that's why you have gangs. Boys are looking for it. They're hungry for it. They're looking for it. That's why they join football teams and basketball teams, because you want the presence.
They want that club feel.
Right, but you have to be given opportunity. And I think one of the biggest things is, because I watched my grandfather go to the same thing, and I heard parents say, well, why didn't my dad do this? And why? He did not know how. And we assume, right? It's kind of sad, but we assume that because we're male, or even women, right? When women have children, you got moms, aunties, they gather around, we all take care of the baby, right? Dads don't get that. When you have a child and you're a father, majority of times you're out there by yourself. You got to figure this shit out. It's not easy. And then when you make a mistake, you don't have a baby. You have a responsibility that you're taking care of. How am I going to provide? How am I going to protect? If I don't make the money, I'm inadequate. So men go through a whole psychological difference than what women do. And the sad part for me is that women never ask, how does it feel for you? When I tried to explain to my children's mother how I felt about becoming a father, I was scared. My second set of children, my youngest two, 10 and 8. I was scared to be a dad because the circumstances and situations I was in was totally different. And she did not understand how I felt about becoming a new dad all over again and what that was going to look like for me.
Yeah, because 28 to 10?
Right, it's a huge difference. And,
huge difference.
And her response to me was like, you're a dad, get over it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, I mean, in that moment, and there's a lot of men that walk around and they want to be a part of their kids' lives. I've seen them. I've sat down with them. I've watched men break down in tears in groups about their inability to feel like they can provide for their children, and the fact that being with the child's mother or even having to deal with the moms makes it that much more difficult, because the expectation is of a man is so up here, and if you fail, then you're so down here and you feel less of a man, and that's a part of the emasculation process.
I am really enjoying this conversation, but we are going to take a quick break.
Oh, I'm in a food coma right now.
I am so stuffed.
Oh, me too.
Ma's Italian Kitchen, you did it again. Edward, what did you have for dinner tonight?
Oh, I had pasta primavera with peas and mushrooms and Alfredo sauce, girl.
Delicious. I had linguine, fresh chopped clams with garlic and pecorino cheese. Ah, it was so good.
Heavenly.
Ma's Italian Kitchen, you did it again. They can be reached at 818-567-2288 or order online at masitaliankitchen.com. Hunty.
Time for dessert.
Rodney, we all have an innate fear. I have fears as a woman, as a black woman, as a single black woman, as a single black woman with meat in her bones, as a single black woman with meat in her bones as an entrepreneur. I have all these fears that I have to wake up to almost on the daily. But I have to overcome them by reading, by researching, by setting myself with positive thinking individuals, by being spiritual. As a black man in Los Angeles, as a black man in society, as a black man living in this administration, as a black man dealing with and raising with 3 children, what are the fears that you are dealing with yourself personally, and the fears that you feel could be helped with? Like, how can we overcome most of these fears?
My biggest fear getting there every day is I have a couple. My first one is being a black man.
Okay.
There's a fear of driving while black, walking, especially in the climate right now.
Preach, talk about it.
Right, the cultural climate right now is like this. And then I have 3 daughters. So my fear is not being a good enough father, not being a good enough man to raise my children. I watched my grandfather like a hawk. I watched everything he did, but I never asked him, what was your fear? What was it like for you growing up in that time? Because we all have stories, and I think what I've learned over time is that it's the story that we gotta hear. Those older men, those other black men who were there in the corners in those times, they endured a lot to give us an opportunity. One of the reasons why I'm passionate about doing things the right way is because somebody somewhere paid a price with their lives, with their sweat, with their blood, with their tears, with their trail of pain to give me an opportunity to help somebody else, not just myself. And I feel like across society, I think the Marine Corps was one of the places where I really appreciated brotherhood. Black, white, or brown, war is war, death is death, right? There's no color barriers when you go to war. And when someone makes a mistake, you die. That's how severe it is for us. And so as a Marine, you get past some of those things. You start to learn to really work together and become more of a team and to unite. And that just speaks to humanity, right? We all carry our bags of fear and pain. But what makes your fear and your pain different than mine is yours, mine is mine, but it's still fear and pain. And I think that's what I really work at, just trying to be a better person. And the way I get over this, I work at it. I read. I obviously went back to school, and I really try to live honorable.
What drove you to go back to school? What was the reason for wanting to go back to school?
My kids, like, I want them to see me walk across the stage. I want them to look at my dad and said, he did it at that age. It means something. I didn't really understand the value of education. Like, I knew education mattered to a degree, but I don't want the books. I don't want the time. But as you get older, you realize that education doesn't give you what you want. But what it does do is it gives you an opportunity to go get what you want, right? And so you look at that value system and it changed. Being around other people, being influenced by people, working where I work at, you're around people who have masters, and you see that I'm just as smart, if not smarter. I'm just as good, if not better. So for me, if they can do it, why can't I? And I think one of the reasons why we struggle as African American men is that the exposure is not there. I think the Marine Corps really exposed me to leadership, right? To what it really is to be a leader. And in our society right now, we don't really have a lot of strong black leadership as far as men are concerned.
That's true.
And I also feel like it's not a separate issue. I think men across the country are struggling. I think white men are struggling in different cultures.
Look at what happened 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
We had 3 mass shootings in a week.
Right.
All by 3 white, very confused, scared white boys.
And what are we scared of? We're scared of losing our identity. We're scared of losing our power, our control. And I think that, too, is a part of the emasculation process, right? Because now, who you said I was, I'm no longer that person. Therefore, I'm losing my manhood.
So going back to the breakdown, because I want to wrap this up, and we could talk about this for hours,
Yes.
obviously. What are your recommendations on an end game and how to bridge the gap between men and women? Because I want to go back to relationships. I'm a straight woman living in Los Angeles, and it's hard to date in Los Angeles. Even if I was 100 pounds wet, it would still be difficult to date in Los Angeles. But I don't just date black men. I date white men, I date Hispanic men, I date Jewish men, I date, any man that I am interested in. And I haven't dated in a while because I have a good time when I travel. And I feel the men that I meet when I'm in my travels, especially European men, are incredibly masculine. They know what they want. They're aggressive. I'll give you that. They are aggressive. But they're also mostly gentlemen too, because they like what they see me and they like what they see. Mm-hmm. They kiss my hand. They say hello in their language, and they are very romantic. Here in Los Angeles, I'm getting yo, what up, lady? Hey, honey. Hey, ma. Completely disrespectful. And you don't approach a woman that way. I'm sorry. I'm still old school in tradition. Maybe some young girls like it. They think it's cute. They think it's flirty when a man approaches them in that way. I think it's still disrespectful. If you want my attention, you're going to say, hi, how you doing? My name is John. What's your name? And then we have a conversation. Don't come up to me ghetto. Don't come up to me ignorant. Come to me as a woman that you want to talk to as a woman. Rodney, what are your thoughts in terms of men and relationships today and dating? You've been in a relationship still, but dating sucks in this world. It sucks, period.
I think dating...
And when it comes to like your statement about men, where women want to have a sensitive romantic man,
right?
We do, but we also don't want pussies either.
Well, I think to call a man a pussy is also emasculating, right? So I think we have to be careful with that. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there are a lot of men out there. I had a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, say, when you got a woman, you never have to call her a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
So
preach.
And the idea is that when we talk, men and women talk, any relationship, whether it be my child, my daughters to me as a father, or my mom to me as a son, the male-female conversation is different because we interpret things differently. Men are objective, women are subjective, right? Men talk about how they think, women talk about how they feel. A woman's feelings predates her actions. A man's thoughts predates his. If he tells you what he's thinking, he's actually going to tell you what he's going to do. With a female, she tell you what she's feeling, she's going to tell you what she's going to do. So you have to be aware, and I think one of the things is that we're not really talking about that level of understanding. And in reality is that we don't understand each other, whether it be male, female, black, white, whether it be child, adult, right? We have to learn to understand each other. Mm-hmm. And a part of emasculation for me is the fact that in relationships, I think women have a pre-perceived notion of what men are supposed to be, and they really don't see men for who they really are. Because under their manhood, there's a person, right? So don't just talk to my man here. Talk to my person. And what women don't really understand is that if you tell a man what he needs, he's willing to provide that for you. But instead of telling what you need from him, you go at him with these expectations and expect him to know it. He can't read your mind.
Well,
right?
You can't read our mind either.
No, and I think that's where the conversation.
We can't read your mind either, and that is why communication is key.
Yes, but when I tell you how I feel, it goes that word feeling, right? If I tell you how I feel, don't tell me how you feel about what I feel. Right? Listen to understand what I'm saying to you. I'm telling you this for a reason. I'm not telling you that you're wrong. It's not an attack on you. It's really about sharing with you what's going on inside me, and it goes back to being vulnerable, open, and transparent because the reality is that if you don't create a safe and brave space for me to talk to you as a man, somebody else will.
Now I don't want to blame the feminine way or the feminine movement that started 40, 50 years ago. Women want to be perceived as strong as well. We had to raise, I don't know how many kids, but a majority of women today had to raise children on their own. So they had to become that masculine and / feminine product. And raising their children or being the person that brings home the bacon, who is nurturing their children, who's raising their children, who's trying to be a woman, who's trying to be sexy and dateable and, fit and, the entrepreneur. I mean, we as a woman, speaking from what I'm going through as a 47-year-old woman, I have so much pressure on my side too. Now, some of the pressure I do put on myself. I'm going to be honest.
Yes.
I am a boss bitch. Yes. Period.
Yes, I agree. I'm sorry I said that out loud.
The truth comes out. I will definitely say that I'm a bitch. Definitely, because I have certain standards. And I have certain standards for my friends. I have certain standards for myself personally. Because I want to bring out the best in everything. I don't like flaky people. Because I don't flake on people.
Right.
I don't like people who are lazy because I'm not lazy. I don't like people who lie to me because I don't lie to you. So does that mean I'm at a higher standard than Joe Smith or Joan Smith? I don't know, but I have certain standards that I expect. And so with that being said, I'm a feminist, absolutely. But at the same time, I do know what I want in a man, and I do want I want the car to be pulled up next to me. I want you to open up the door. I'm still old school on that. And a lot of feminists don't like that. Oh, I can open my own damn door. Yes, you can open up your damn door. But wouldn't it be nice to have the man feel like he's a man and making you feel romanticized and everything like that? I don't need to do this. And I've said this about myself. I don't need a man to do the industry. I don't need a man. You know what I tell my friends? I want a man.
Can we touch on that for a second?
I want a man. I want to be loved by a man. But I don't need a man. Go.
You go, Rodney, first, because I want to touch on this too with Queen ShanShan. I got lots to say.
I think the second part of that is that you create a conflicting mindset.
Okay.
Right? The first thing a woman tells you is, I don't need a man. Mm-hmm. And then you tell me all these expectations you have for me as a man. So if you don't need me, why are you expecting this from me, right? The other thing I think a lot of men, we don't know which man to be on what day. On Monday, you want me to be this guy. On Tuesday, you want me to be this gentleman. You want me to be this thug. And then in the middle, I don't know who I am. And you lose yourself in your partner. Because the one thing about most men who really love their women, most men who want to be, who really, really are men, their whole point is to please and provide. We want to do these things. We want to make you happy. We just don't know what happiness means to you at that moment in time on that day.
Well,
That's
we're emotional.
confusing.
We go through emotions. We go through hormones. Women, we go through our times in the month. We go through a day where we're stressed out. Just like you guys men have, I think men have time in the months too. You guys have your periods too. Woo, you guys have your periods.
I can't speak to that.
I have my phases. It's not periods for me. It's like it's phases.
You have a phase where you're grouchy and grumpy and you're sensitive too.
But I think that's natural for us to go in. And a lot of men, I feel like maybe you can help me with this. I think a lot of times we go into our caves, right? Because we have to retreat because of what's going on around us and the fact that we feel overwhelmed. Being with a woman can be very overwhelming because there's so much pressure on you. Do more to please her than you do yourself because you're so inundated by what she feels, what she thinks. a woman's opinion can destroy a man in a matter of minutes, and he can never recover.
Yeah, that's true, I think. I really do think that's true. I had something happen to me a long time ago. I was straight for a long time. And there was something that happened to my when I was 19 that just kind of shattered me. You know,
Right,
just
right.
like I was never quite the same with dating girls after that.
What happened?
It was unrequited love. It was, high school crush, and turned to, like, after we graduated, I thought maybe I could really make this work,
Right,
and I knew
right.
she was dating this guy that was from our school and same high school, and I wasn't at the same college as her, but her boyfriend at the time, now husband, was at the same college at the same time, and so they dated, and I wrote her a letter, and I was like, this is so psychotic now that I think about it, but now that it's coming out of my mouth, I wrote her a letter, and I mailed it. Back in the day, I mailed it like registered mail, so I
Right.
knew
So
she'd get it.
to make sure she gets it.
Yeah, and so I knew that she got it. She never said a word to me ever again about it until our 20-year class reunion or 10-year class reunion
Wow.
or something like that. And I finally just told her, I was like, I'm way over that now. But, I said something to the effect that it deeply affected me for a long time.
It's not. There's no, like, a lot of men we don't recover, and we commit suicide. We go into isolation.
Yeah.
We do alienation. There's a
Yeah.
reason for that, right? Thought
Yeah.
precedes behavior. So we're thinking these thoughts, and the problem is that even if I think I want to open at that door, if I think you're going to perceive me as weak, I'm not going to open at that door. I may think it, but I'm not going to put myself out there, because why? If I'm vulnerable and transparent, if I come home and tell you how I feel, you're going to tell me I'm weak. So now I'm conflicted within myself, because I want to be strong. I want to do these things, but I don't want to be perceived weak. And the other thing that women don't realize is that generally women travel in packs. You talk to your girlfriends, you talk to each other. Tell me the truth. We don't talk to other men about what we're feeling emotionally. We don't open up and share. I have had men cry and say, "Man, I can't talk to my boys about what I'm talking to you about."
It's true.
Right?
We don't.
It's so.
Do you feel the same way too
Yeah,
sometimes?
for sure. Even being in a same-sex relationship with another man, I'm programmed, I'm from a different generation. He's a millennial. I'm a Gen Xer, and so I was raised by white people.
Right.
White people don't talk about anything. They just sweep it right under the carpet, right, and don't deal with it. And so,
Not just white people, honey. There's all kind.
true.
It's all ethnicities
He's
have issues with
Latino,
talking. Yeah.
as you know, he's a Latino guy, and they're very like
Machismo?
they talk about that, and they
They're
talk about their
machismo.
feelings way more than certainly my family did. So we have that disconnect on, like,
interesting.
I will just go like a bull in a china shop to town on something and not even say a word about it. I'll just start doing something.
Right.
And not telling him or anybody else what I'm doing. It's just the way I was maybe raised, because we didn't communicate that and tell people what we were up to.
Well, Victor and Ursina, who was here on the show, they're Latino men, they're gay men, and they had issues talking about their sexuality to their family. So I think it's above board as a society. People just don't want to talk about their feelings because they're scared of rejection.
Yeah, and it has nothing really to do with sexuality per se.
No, it
It's just
definitely
like,
doesn't.
It's just like anything.
It could be anything.
We're just
but
like-
men are the hardest to talk.
Well,
You guys are hard. It's hard
Safe
for
and
you guys to talk
brave,
about your
because
feelings.
the men, you're not supposed to expose yourself.
Right.
Growing up, that was
Right.
the issue. Like, my mother loved me, I knew that, but I didn't feel it because I couldn't
didn't feel
tell
the
her
love?
things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we sat down one day and she started telling me things, and I was like, I gotta tell you how I felt about being a twin. And she had no idea. Like, there's things that as men we have to share. My best friend is from the Marine Corps. I met him in '86. And there's things like, if I have to go to anyone and really share, it's him. And even still, there's a moment of fear, being exposed, being vulnerable. And I'm like, I've been knowing you for over 20 years.
But you're
Why
still
should I
afraid
be
about what he may think of
right?
you?
And so, and
Feel about it?
it's not judgment with him. It's
Yeah.
more of the fact that it's just being open like that. And so for me, having a woman, because my grandmother and her sisters and all my aunts kind of put the gate around us and really held us in check, and really that's who my go-to was, my grandmother. I could tell her anything and I was okay with that. So the female presence in her life, like that presence of having that significant other that you can share with, that's the thing we're all looking for.
Right.
Who can we really be vulnerable for? How am I going to be received, right? I don't want you to tell me about how you feel about what my feelings are. What I want you to do is put your arms around me and embrace me in my pain. and allow me to process this pain and tell me I'm going to be okay, and that you're not going to judge me or reject me or see me as weak, because in these moments of hurt and pain that I'm being vulnerable. Like, if I can't be vulnerable with you, then what's the point of being with you?
Absolutely.
Actually, Rodney, that ties into what I wanted to put Shannon on the hot seat, or Queen ShanShan in the hot seat about. Because you hang around with a lot of gay men.
Yes.
So why? You're never going to meet a man
That's
that
what
way.
Heather always says. That's what a lot of my friends say.
So, but why? Does that have to do with security like that? Are the gay men the ones that give you the love and coddle you and embrace you and make you feel, take down your guard and make you feel loved?
Yes.
And not have to put up a front about anything?
All those are yeses. I have had these conversations with my friends, my straight friends, with my gay friends. My overall answer with that is acceptance. That's one of the core reasons why I'm doing this podcast, is that in the LGBT community, although I am straight and I'm strictly dickly, they know who I am and I know who I am, but they are accepting the LGBT community, where you are gay, you're a lesbian, you're a trans, you're bi, you're non-binary, you're queer. They are accepting. So if I ever went into a gay bar by myself and I wanted to have a cocktail and I look fabulous, I'm going to get 10 men or women or whoever's in the bar, and they're going to come to me and say, "Hi, my name is Sally. What's your name?"
Okay, then what happens if you do that same thing
in a straight bar? I feel I'm judged because I don't weigh 100 pounds wet. I don't have this particular look about myself. Straight bars are so boring. Straight people are boring. I'm going to straight up say, maybe not you, Rodney, but...
Thank you, I appreciate that. I'm like, that
straight people are boring. They are straight up vanilla, okay?
But can we do a sexual? I'm saying all the wrong words. Can we do a social experiment one night?
Okay.
Where we do both. We go, you and I, we go to a straight bar.
Absolutely.
And we go to a gay bar.
First of all, we're going to be making fun of everybody, so you and I will have the best.
Right. So we probably have to go to the straight bar first.
We'll
because
go to straight
you'd
bar
never
first,
get out of the
I'm
gay bar.
I'm not even going to get tipsy at a straight bar.
You would never get out of the gay bar if you went there first. You'd be like,
no, we'd be wasted.
Wasted.
Okay, so you want to go to a straight bar here in Los Angeles and do what?
I want you to go in and all your Shannonness.
All my Shannonness.
And
wig, makeup, and all.
All done up. And we have a drink at a bar or go on the dance floor or whatever.
Absolutely.
Whatever the kids do these days.
They're going to play probably Barry Manilow. They're going to play, Britney Spears, or they're going to play Taylor Swift. So that's already a yawn.
And we can dive deeper. We can go into like an African American, nightclub.
Well, that's a different story. Now that's a different story.
Oh, we're switching
We're going to be already
now.
shaking our asses, because you know why? In a black African American bar or restaurant, and preach on it, Rodney. There's a different way, because you're judged as well. They can be very judgy. But at the same time, the music and the groove and the feel of the bar is so much more open too.
Yeah, the vibe sets.
The vibe sets you. And the hip hop music, the R&B music, you can hear it a mile away. You're already grooving. You're already shaking your hips. Okay. Now, if I'm going to grade A vanilla band or bar in Santa Monica, I know I'm going to have a nice glass of wine. I'm going to listen to some Jonas Brothers.
I actually like that new album, but anyway, that's
nothing wrong with the Jonas Brothers. No. I'm just saying, I don't, techno, electronica. There's people who love EDM. That's good for them. I'm not feeling that vibe.
Okay, but where you got to call it out? Like I need to know the names of these places. Which black club can we go to
in Los Angeles?
Yes.
Oh my God! The last time I went to a straight bar, I don't know how long. Is it either for a birthday party or it was like some other's gig? I go to, I don't know. We got to look up a straight bar in Los Angeles. It's been a long time. Let's put it that way.
And then I'm serious. I want to see how this plays out.
I think it was going to play out the way you feel like it's going to play out.
Do you think she's prophesizing it? Like already like.
I would prude to straight bars.
I think the thing is, one of the things that you find oftentimes is that I think we start to limit ourselves. Like we start to put ourselves in these bubbles. And we stand in. I think like getting out of your comfort zone and
getting out of my comfort zone. I was born. And since I was 16, I went to nothing but bars, straight bars, obviously. But it's such a different vibe when you had all kinds of single friends. Like a lot of my friends are married or in relationships.
It's different.
It's so different now. So I don't go down to Hollywood anymore. I don't stroll the strip.
Right.
I'm not trolling anymore. I'm not, getting my next dick for tonight.
Right.
I've done that all. Been there, done that. Now I want something called a relationship. So I don't go to a bar, get a drink, and wait. I'm not, Sally O'Malley waiting for my next kick. When I'm with my boys and my my friends, when we go to West Hollywood or we go into Palm Springs or we're traveling to Puerto Vallarta or whatever, the minute I step into a gay bar, it's Queen ShanShan. Like, it's immediately acceptance and it's the same makeup, it's the same wig, it's the same frock, whatever I'm wearing,
right.
And I'm getting this undue attention. Oh, you're beautiful, you're gorgeous, who are you? Da, da, da. It's almost like a celebrity in a way.
Right.
In a straight bar, I'm like plain Jane. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Maybe it's the attention that I'm getting. I don't know. And that's probably also deterring me from finding that particular man. Because you're right. It is probably known I will never find my husband in a gay bar.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
As a straight black woman, what is a woman, in your opinion, what does a woman represent to a man?
In my opinion, what does a woman represent to a man?
Right.
We represent sexiness. We represent individuality. We represent, I'm not a mother, but we have the ability to give you children. We have the ability to talk to you and soothe you when you have a headache and rub on your head and rub on your feet at night because we want to love you up. That's how my mother raised us as Christians, and so we were there to provide for our husbands. My mom raised me to be a provider of my husband. My poor mother, she'll never have any grandchildren, and I don't know if she'll ever see a marriage in her lifetime. But she's met boyfriends and she's met people who I was dating before. But if I ever meet that man, he's got a lot to live up for. So like I said before, if I ever find a man, he's gonna be Shannon with a penis. I want a Shannon with a penis.
Okay, wait. One sec, Rodney. You got that. You got the questions on your lips right now. I can tell, but I have to ask this because, as a straight black man, would Shannon intimidate you if you were single? And she walked into the room. I get that
all the time.
And it was all cards on the table. You're on the prowl. She's on the prowl.
I don't know that I would be intimidated, right? So I don't think intimidation is what it's about. I think there's a lot of men out there looking for women who they can talk to, they can share with. A lot of times men don't want attention. We don't want to draw attention. We don't need that. What we need to know is, in the middle of the night, in that battle, are you going to get our backs? Can we sit down and have that conversation with you, right? Are you going to take care of me in a way that's not materialistic? You can buy me and you can treat me, but at the end of the day, can you feel me, right? Can we connect on a deeper level? Do you understand where I'm coming from? Do you understand what I'm going through? Because that's the missing link, right? Women want this thing, and it's all about what a man can do for them. But it's really never been, you never hear women say, I want a man that I can be good to this way. It's always what I want a man to do for me.
That's why you asked me that question.
Right. That's a lot of women want someone to do for them, but they never talk about what they can do. And then you ask a woman, what can you provide for a man? She's going to tell you what she can provide from her perspective, right, from a woman's perspective, but she's never asked a man what his needs are, or any man for that matter. When you don't know what you can provide, when you don't know what I need, how can you provide it? You can give me material things, you can make me laugh, but that's what you do for me. What do you do with me? How do you coddle me? How do you nurture me? How do you talk to me? How do you make me feel as a man, your man? Do I feel like I'm somebody else? Women compete. Right, you guys are always against each other. Men, they compete against other men, but they don't want to compete against women. They want to fight their end together. And I think one of the biggest issues with not having these conversations is that it's always assumed. You ask a woman, "Are you a good woman?" "Yeah, I'm good." Well, who told you that? From whose perspective? Right? You ever ask a man, "Are you good?" Sometimes men were like, she'll say, "Yeah, I'm good," and in the back of his mind, like, she ain't worth the goddamn. Right? And I've seen it happen. There's women who said, my man will never cheat. And he just told me last night he was out with this other chick. So you know that she's not in touch. Her reality is not his reality. And one of the reasons why is because you think you know who we are. You have to know who that person is. To me, watching my mother endure what she endured, I learned at that point in time that I have to know how to take care of a woman. I have to know what her needs are. And I have to have those. Mom, what do you need? And I learned a very important lesson. Quick story. I called my mother. I said, what do you want for Christmas? She said, why? I said, because I want to buy it for you. She said, don't buy me nothing. I said, what do you mean? She said, you ask me the same shit every year. I said, yeah, I want to know what you want every year. She said, you ask me the same shit and then you buy me what you want me to have. I said, well, that's what you're supposed to do. She goes, no, so just give me what you want. Stop asking me. And I thought about it. I said, what's the problem? She said, when I tell you I need something, that's what I need. So when I ask you what I want for Christmas, when you ask me what I want, I'm telling you what my needs are. But as a man, I'm not paying attention because I heard your need, but I'm going to buy you what I want you to have. That's about me. But being aware and paying attention to what she's saying, that's about her. So I have to understand when she's saying that, when she says, I want that, it's really not that she just wants it. It's that she needs it. Translate that to my children. I never say to them, I say, Daddy, what you need? What do you need from Dad? How can I make this work for you? Because it's not about me. And I think in this society, we become so selfish and so individualistic that collectively as a team and as a partner, it has a huge impact on us in life. As a Marine, we know that if you don't do your job, somebody dies. It's a life or death situation. And I carry that with me because your needs are just as important as mine in a relationship. But I have to know what your needs are, and I have to be able to come to you and have that safe and brave space to have that conversation. But I can't talk to you when you're always in your feelings. Because right now, it's not about your feelings. It's about understanding where you are and what I can do for you so that I can connect with you.
Okay.
We men want to connect, do we not?
We want to connect.
Yes, and we have to know how to connect, right?
Yeah.
But if you're fighting me the whole time and you're berating me and telling me what I'm not and you're giving me sarcastic and rolling your eyes and yada, 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 I'm not going to worry about your needs. I'm going to go, because most men ain't going to say nothing. They shut down. We go into our man caves. We patch up the entrance. We go and lock ourselves in. And sometimes we go in that space. We don't come out. We stay in there.
We shut down.
Shut down. And women think, well, he's mad. And then the next thing you do is call him a bitch because he's in his feelings. You act like a little bitch or a little pussy in your words. And for me, that's a problem because I'm like, I'm not. Like, somehow you guys, it seems like women have the monopoly on feelings. Who told you that?
So
That's
we're
great.
gonna, honey, I was nodding this whole time, totally in agreement with you.
Yeah. Just so, let me recap.
Recap.
You don't have the monopoly on the fills. Just so you know, ladies.
I think that's it.
We don't have the monopoly on the fills.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's going to be the title of the show.
Yes. I really cringe because in all seriousness, I've watched defeated men that really care about their kids, look at me and say, I don't want to do this anymore. Right? I looked at men say, I love her, but it's not worth it. Like, I watched women undercut men's authority in the household and ruin their kids and then say, you have to help me fix this shit. I told you not to do this, right? I see what you cannot. That's why you have a role and I have a role. When do you trust my judgment, right? When do you trust me as a partner?
Right.
So if you brought me here to be a man or to be your man in partnership, allow me the opportunity to lead or to work with you and not against you. But if you came here to make it about your feelings, we're never going to get this off the ground.
So we can go on and on and on about the subject because it's so universal.
Yes.
It really is universal. But we're going to have to close. In 60 seconds or less, Rodney, what type of jewels do you want to leave the audience tonight?
Listen. Be open to understanding the other's perspective and make it about not just the relationship, but about humanity. Love one another. Really embrace who that person is and what that person means to you, and don't look at it from who you are to them, but look at who they are to you and how they matter to you, and make that important to the unification of the relationship. I think if you do those things and work together, you definitely have an opportunity to grow, and that's what we are. I think that's what everyone should do, is strive to grow. You want someone to grow old with, right? It's not go old with, it's grow old with.
Correct.
So you want to be able to share in that partnership, in that relationship, to get to that next point.
I thank you.
I thank you.
We really appreciate having you on the show tonight.
It's been a pleasure.
Edward.
I'm like in church. I'm like, you preach it, Rodney.
Stop
Preach.
it.
You preach that. I am listening. I'm listening right here.
We have been taught. We have learnt something today.
I learned to do something. Yes, I did.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Rodney.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
You're welcome.
Hope to come back one day.
You will. We gotta have
Definitely.
another. Well, all these shows are gonna have to have a part 2, right? Good
course.
God, there's so much to talk about. You know what? We I can't even talk right now. I'm like tongue tied. We will be right back after these words.
Passport, check. Underwear, check. Sunscreen, check. Travel insurance, no check. I know. I'll head over to ShanInsure because she does health insurance, life insurance, auto insurance, business insurance, homeowners insurance. I didn't know she did all that insuring. Surely she's got to have some travel insurance for me. So go to ShanInsure.com. I cannot wait to go on my trip now. Hunty.
Rodney,
Yes.
I always was raised with food in our stomach from breakfast, lunch, and dinner. My mom made sure that we were fed. We were definitely a very good. We were very fortunate. My mom knew how to burn a grill, honey. Do you like to cook for your kids?
Yes, I do.
What's your favorite meal you like to cook for your children?
Cereal. No, I'm just kidding. I think breakfast. I like to do daddy breakfasts. And
What's the daddy breakfast?
It's whatever I make, but it's just coming from the heart.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's the most important thing I could do for them is just share that moment with them.
Is that like before they go to school and you have a conversation?
Especially on weekends, I do the eggs. I may do the French toast. I cook Christmas breakfast for them. So
Nice.
I try to make it about not the meal, but what the meal represents. And I think that's what makes it about, what the cooking for me is the fact that it's coming from a loving place.
Exactly. Good for you. We'll continue doing those daddy breakfasts,
Yes,
okay?
ma'am.
Why, Florida? Why?
Rodney, so on the show we have a segment called Why Florida Why? And, Florida, besides Texas, they have some interesting stories that comes out of those states once in a while. More than we really want to listen to here. But this guy named Gary John Van Wyzik, I hope I'm pronouncing his last name right, is a 74-year-old man who is facing felony charges of performing an illegal medical operation after botching a consensual, and this is consensual, in-home castration on another man. And they've met each other on the dark web fetish website, some crazy website. Now, we were just talking about last week fetishes and kinks and different things, BDSM, but this is like far passing it's okay. This guy actually hurt this guy. 911 was called and the patient was bleeding heavily when a deputy arrived and was rushed to the hospital. Come to find out that Van Wyzik, his name is spelled Ryswyk, Wyzik, told investigators that he met this man online and the man was looking for someone to do a castration fetish. Okay, and he was arrested and with practicing medicine without a license resulting in bodily injury. He's in bond right now. The bond is set at $250,000.
That's it?
This story broke out literally 3 days ago.
Wow.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it?
I'm looking at this guy. This guy looks like, look at regular old dude. Basically the guy's okay. But this particular person was looking for homemade castrations. Like, what are your thoughts on that? You're still choking?
I really can't. I mean, I'm just trying to imagine walking around being castrated, and it just does not feel good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
right?
Yeah,
and especially if you're an older gentleman. It says here in the story, the man who had just had his testicles removed was bleeding heavily from the groin. The deputy observed that the man's testicles were in a pink container by the bed. Oh, my God. The victim was taken to a nearby hospital before later being flown to a regional medical center. He was expected to be okay.
And this is Florida?
This is in Florida.
Yeah, I won't be going there no time soon.
No. You know what the takeaway is?
Yeah.
You know what the takeaway
I know
is?
the takeaway is you don't have one no more.
Yeah,
Right?
he doesn't have that.
Yeah.
But the takeaway is know your safe word.
Yes,
If you don't know your safe word, at the time, you're screwed.
or you're castrated.
You're castrated. But yeah, this happened. What is it? They said the county was the Highlands County Sheriff. So somewhere, I don't know where Highlands County is in
I don't know
Florida,
either,
but
yeah.
Good God, Florida. Why, Florida? Why? If you are abroad and want to come on our show to discuss experiences with food, culture, beauty, and travel, please email us at abroadproductions@gmail.com. You can also find more information about our show on our website at abroadproductions.com. Follow us on Instagram at Queen ShanShan, our Facebook fan page, which is Abroad Productions, and Twitter, which is at _broad_prod, spelled PROD. And if you also want to be on the show, email us as well at abroadproductions@gmail. Thank you, Rodney.
Thank you.
Did you have a good time?
I did, and you allowed me to really go a little deeper than I thought we were going to go.
Right.
And I really pulled
like
back some things and we pulled back some things that I think people need to really just think about. Like, we don't just sit in it for a second, that's all.
I know, and that's another thing which I actually said in my podcast last week. Like, I'm actually getting to know more of my friends, people I've known for years,
right,
on a whole different level.
Right.
And I really appreciate this. This is why I love doing the podcast, because we're talking.
Yes.
We're not texting. We're not emailing each other. We're not sitting in a restaurant, a loud restaurant. We're actually sitting in my home right now, right, talking about things that people want to know about, and we're telling stories.
Yes.
So thank you so much for being here.
It's been a blessing, and I wish you much success. I think you're doing an awesome job, and continued success.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Well, hold on to your hats, Rodney, because next week's show, we got another doozy.
Uh-oh.
I have an actual celebrity going to be in my show for next week, Jamal Sims. Jamal Sims is a world-renowned choreographer.
Okay.
I actually knew him since junior high. I was raised in Rancho Cucamonga. And I always knew he was going to be the star, and he has. Jamal Sims is a choreographer, an actor, a film producer, and director who has over 25 years of professional experience with the likes of Prince, Madonna, Michael Jackson, Taylor Swift, Miley Cyrus, Toni Braxton, RuPaul's Drag Race, Jennifer Lopez, and choreographed this summer's mega hit film Aladdin with Will Smith, and is the villain on the Disney's latest trilogy, Descendants 3.
Wow.
Jamal won the grand jury prize at the 2018 Outfest Los Angeles Film Festival for directing the logo documentary When the Beat Drops. Sims' works also include Step Up, the Step Up franchise, Microsoft's that cool Microsoft commercial with the Microsoft laptop commercial where the people were dancing in the conference room. Mm-hmm. He did that. He also helped choreograph Footloose, Hairspray, Cirque du Soleil, Michael Jackson, the Immortal World Tour, Dancing with the Stars. He's been on a few seasons with Dancing with the Stars. So You Think You Can Dance, which is my favorite show, and the Emmy-nominated 82nd Annual Academy Awards, and other productions. I'm so honored Jamal is going to be on my show next week.
Awesome.
I cannot wait.
Awesome.
Jamal,
awesome.
I cannot wait. Prepare for your mind to be blown, because that's a story that everyone's going to want to hear. In the meantime, I'm Queen ShanShan, and thank you for listening to Abroad.